So, hey, Tanis, welcome. I'm so happy that you are joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So, I've been doing the series of interviews called Who on Earth Is? And I've had a first, like I said, I had this first wave of interviews and it was quiet for a while. And I'm picking them up again. So, I'm glad that you are the first person that I'm interviewing again after the break. And I just want to share a bit like how you came onto my path, because it was actually a year ago when I met Dr. Ben Zechrel. And he was telling me about his program, Ironclad Immunity. And I think it was his mom that introduced you to him, your Yoga Nidras on your YouTube channel, Tanis Fishman. And he introduced your Yoga Nidras to me. He also said that you made special ones, special meditations for his Ironclad group. And I loved your Yoga Nidras, like from the very first moment that I heard it. It's, for me personally, it's like your voice and the way you guide the meditations and everything. Even now, still, like a year later, every time I'm listening to your meditations, like the first couple of minutes, I'm like tears, and there's like all this emotion, and I can just feel like a lot of releasing, and then I feel my body physically. I also feel it like I'm dropping through all these layers, going deeper, 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 into this very quiet place in, I don't know what to call it exactly in words, but it's like I'm going into the very depth of my purest energy. And so much healing happens on that level. So that is how you came onto my path. And also why I wanted to speak to you today, because I would love to hear from you, from your heart, however it comes up in this moment, like what is that driving force behind the things that you do, whether it's Yoga Nidras or anything else.
Oh, thank you. What just comes forth before I answer your question, I just want to mention Dr. Ben, and for the last two years or so, I've been really quiet, not offering in the way my work that I was offering for the last 15 plus years, and being asked by my own consciousness to redirect my focus in a way I'll touch on later. And Dr. Ben reached out, and immediately I responded, and I kind of came out of my cave. And really trusting that, because I was so offline, that whoever was making the effort and the energy and felt the connection to reach out, that this was really special. And so I answered the call, and it was just an immediate connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that's the deeper reason I can record these meditations, and I can put out there different ways to explore our consciousness, but it's those immediate connections, I think, that are they're so genuine and heartfelt. And it's this recognition that which is inside of me is inside of you. And when you recognize that inside of you, it's just kind of this bow to each other, like, hi, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, and we're connected. And so and then it ripples, and it leads me to you, and here we are in connection. And I find that miraculous. I'm sitting in Canada and you're in the Netherlands, and yeah, this is the script of it, how it plays out is just really miraculous. So I just wanted to touch that and call in his energy into this call.
Yes, awesome.
What is it that what calls me to do what I do, or what calls me, so it probably goes way back. When I was very, very young, I remember, I think it was around 4 years old, my parents were having a dinner party, and I was just looking around at the scene and taking in the environment and receiving some of the conversation. And something so deep inside me, this pulsing inside me, was, what is this? And what am I doing here? And I just don't get it. I feel quite disoriented. And I would ask, and I would ask questions, and my questions just weren't really getting answered in the way that was fulfilling for me from such a young age. And so there was this constant curiosity, but also this frustration, like, I can't figure this out. And I'm being told what to do, and I'm being told how to think and how to see this, but I just don't believe it. I don't really believe it. And I know that there's something else. And that was my guiding, that was the guiding GPS system inside of my body that was directing my path. I followed what was set out for me in terms of my schooling, and I was a ski racer, and I was doing what I was told, and from my parents, from my coaches. But I would daydream about my answers, or where I could find my answers. And that led me down a very specific path that I needed to walk. And along the path, there was very significant awakenings, realizations. My questions were being met directly, and I had to walk myself into my own answers.
Do you remember what your questions were?
One, the youngest question was, I don't know where I am. Where am I?
Where am I? Yeah.
Where am I? I don't know who I am.
Who am I?
Who am I?
Yeah.
And there has to be more than this.
Yeah. What else is there?
What else is there? Like, yeah. I can do what I'm told, and I can go where I'm told, but I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
I can play along with it, but I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
And I would ask my brother, don't you question any of this? And he said, no, I
nope.
don't really think about it. And I was like, oh, that's all I think about. Yeah. That's all I think about.
You're wondering, like, okay, so what is this place where I am? Like, who am I? Maybe, like, what am I doing here? Or and what else is there than just this seemingly way of life that people are calling life, and the things that I'm told to do and act and think and behave? Like, is this it? Is there more? Can't somebody tell me, like, there has to be more to life than this?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then I would observe my friends around me that were having a great time doing whatever we were doing, and I just couldn't get into it. I thought, oh, there's something wrong with me. Like, I can't really find the joy in doing this. And such a deep yearning to understand, but the understanding wasn't intellectual. And I didn't understand at that age, but it had to be direct knowing. And And that's what the seeker inside of me was guided. I had to trust, and to trust that my path was a little bit different, and trust that my answers were there, but I had to be guided into the direct knowing of it.
Yeah. So you said earlier on, I think, that along the way you did get your answers.
Yes, through different ways, and I still, not all my answers have come to me yet, and that's the journey still continues. But some of the very significant ones was when I was 19, I was in quite a terrific car accident, and in that experience, I had an out of body state, and that was a non-ordinary state of consciousness. And after the fact, I started to study that. I needed
the out of body thing. You dived into that, yeah.
Yeah, I needed to understand that state of consciousness. It was like I entered another reality zone that didn't make sense.
Another question: where is this?
Yeah, and
what is this place?
And it was and so there was deep study and studentship in that to understand that state. And then when I was 22, I was in India at quite a radical meditation retreat, and I had an awakening of an explosion into pure consciousness, non-duality, and I didn't have the understanding, and so I had to study it afterwards. And so I had the direct knowledge, but then I had to take my time to realize what had happened.
Yeah, on a human level, right? Because your experience, was beyond what your human self could comprehend, most likely.
Oh, absolutely. And it, when you're standing on some foundation that is known, and then it completely shatters. You go into deep inquiry to try and make sense of it in this framework. And then I had another awakening in 2019 of the realization, or the recognition of the I am. And there was something that I believe that once I knew who I was as consciousness itself, or as emptiness, that it would solve all of my problems. And actually it didn't shift anything. And then that led me on the journey of healing. And that has been a complete directional shift, actually, that I wasn't anticipating. I actually didn't think I needed. This sounds like, I don't know, it sounds so ignorant, but I didn't actually think I needed to do the healing path, because I was so fixated on the awakening path. And after 2019, when what I was searching for my whole life got recognized, and that recognition was emptiness. There was no thing. It was formless. But it quenched my search. It completely collapsed the thought forms that were searching for the I am. And then after that, I almost had an awakening of how much distortion in my personality was there, that I actually needed to go into. Now it was time. And this has been a very satisfying and intense journey since then. And the Yoga Nidra practice was the template or the framework that because it's multidimensional and it's layered, like you said, when you felt like you're going through the layers.
First the emotional, first the mind is busy, and then it's like all the emotions, and then it's like down, down, down. And sometimes my like I said, sometimes I physically feel it. It's not just a sensing or a part of my imagination or something. It's like, I've never had that before with any other meditation, where it's like I'm literally dropping through an energetic layer. It's fascinating.
And that's what I recognized in the practice when I received it many years ago in India at the ashram, was that it holds all holds all the fields of our manifested experience. There's room for all of it in this framework, because it goes through these different veils or
dimensions, or whatever word we give
dimensions, fields, whatever, from the densest to the subtlest, and underneath all of it, whatever, the I am that is the experiencer of all experience, can slowly, gradually, it's a return back to the experiencer. And and so it's a framework that holds those possibilities of experience. I was more focused on bringing somebody to the experiencer, so that becomes the ground base, or the root, in order to know it, to touch it. But I see the importance of that, and now I'm really focused on the layers, and where there's misidentification in the layerings of those veils.
So what is, if you were to say what the importance of it is, like, why is it important?
So when we enter practices, that the meditative practices where going into states of relaxation, that becomes the doorway to connecting to our more infinite nature, the timeless, the eternal, the absolute. And that's an orientation into the who am I, and that this is the pure awareness. It's the unchanging. And that's important in terms of orienting, giving us something to orient, and it's the container. It holds I'm trying to feel into the words. It touches us into our spirit. And then being here, this was the next piece that I wasn't able to solve until I understood, well, who am I? Okay, here as a consciousness, but I'm actually here and I'm taking on this form, and I wasn't grounded into this form, and I wasn't embodied, and I didn't want to be embodied. I didn't even understand why. I didn't know who I was, so I didn't really want to be embodied. And then now I'm understanding it's embodied spirit, and this is so key to actually being here, really engaged and connected.
Embodied spirit.
embodied spirit. And so once there's the, okay, there's a recognition of I know what I am, and then how to deeply be that in this human incarnation, and working through whatever is distorting that light, but knowing like what you're actually doing. Because when there's not that, one of my teachers said this to me, and it was so profound because it helped me understand. But the seeker must heal their self distortions, and the healer must realize their true nature. And I was the seeker that didn't think I had to heal. And now, and there's when somebody's on the healing path,
Yes.
they may not have recognized their true nature. And it's a combination of both that is really, it's really crucial for our deepest embodiment.
Yeah.
And
is it through the embodiment of spirit? Is the embodiment of our spirit necessary for working through the distortions, through what, like you said, working through whatever is distorting our light? You know, is that embodiment process the deepest way to heal those distortions? Or would you say you need to heal distortions so that you can embody your spirit?
That's a really good question.
And maybe it depends. maybe there is no answer to that, but it's something, you know, that it's just, yeah, that I wonder. I personally, I mean, now that it's a question I just said out loud, I personally, in my vision, see that allowing, the word allowing is coming up, you know, my spirit welcoming it, inviting it to be in this body. It's almost as if that frequency is that which I can heal myself from the inside out. What else, what part of me, what else would be healing then, other than my spirit, to then allow my spirit to be embodied, you know? So that's why yeah.
I know how important the embodiment piece is for me right now, in terms of being in conscious relations with my children, with my other humans, with other relationships. If when I had those awakenings,
Yeah.
and I was in states of unboundedness and pure love, and there wasn't really there wasn't a sense of self that was registering the experience. It was just I remember it was just what love was doing.
Yeah.
And if that state is sustainable, I don't know. I don't know if the healing path is necessary. If that is a sustainable state. For me, it wasn't sustainable. It answered my question. It gave me direct knowing that that is our essential nature.
Yes.
But I couldn't sustain it. And whatever reason, this is my path now, that it's a slow embodiment and working through the distortions.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the ultimate answer is, but I just know what I have had to do and what I am doing. Yeah. But for a long time, not feeling connected to life and not feeling connected to other was what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And as I started to go into more my core wounding and reclaiming what was in the unconscious and bringing it back in, deeper connection, deeper intimacy started to open up. And
Yes.
so that has been a deep embodiment path for me.
Yes.
And, you know, I question this. This is something I'm questioning too, and I don't really have an answer for, but was it because I was so deeply wounded and that my search for these non-ordinary states of reality was so strong because I was so disconnected as a child? And it's hard to say. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I remember someone saying to me, and it made sense. He said that often that what we long for is that what you are here to bring. You know, it's like, for me, I sometimes call it the seeds of purpose, you know, as if within my divine blueprint, you know, I have seeds of purpose. I'm created with purpose in, you know, what attributes or nature or gifts and talents, you know, that I have to bring, to share, to express, but also to be. And I think that inner frequency of purpose shows itself in different ways. You know, it can be a strong attraction to something or a certain path, or like how some children are really into animals or into nature or into art or into dancing, or, you know, it's like from a young age, sometimes you see like the natural attraction to certain expressions, but sometimes it shows itself in the form of a longing, which can be, if I'm in my human perspective, like associated with a lacking or a pain, you know, or a wound, for example, like, you know, not being connected and not feeling part of this world. And meanwhile, it's because my purpose is to bring connection and to you know, make that connection in what some people call the new earth consciousness, or a higher level of consciousness, whatever it is, you know. And if I am struggling with feeling I'm trapped and I'm not feeling free, and I'm longing for freedom, is my purpose, part of my purpose then, to bring freedom and to break patterns and you know, like old misaligned patterns and programmings and all the illusions, like with the veils of illusions that are, you know, keeping us stuck in some form of mind control. You know, those struggling against that are here as a purpose to themselves break free from it, and then also to clear the path or show the way, or to be the example, the inspiration in how to break free, you know. So I think for sure that the way you felt and the questions you were asking were definitely an indication of what you are here to bring, you know. Because that whole path of discovery of asking, which you said was your GPS, you know, was your inner guide, led you on a certain path to want to discover certain things. And, you know, speaking of embodiment and clearing out distortions, I've experienced that your yoga nidras, and I'm sure other expressions that you have that same essence, but in what I've experienced, the yoga nidras have that nature, absolutely, you know, because there's an immediate effect of healing, because in that moment you are, you know, it's like connecting to your true essence. There's the activation of the pineal gland, you know, which I experienced. There's that higher dimensional experience with the sankalpa, you know, where we bring that that seed of creation, or what we want, what we wish to experience in our lives. We're bringing that. I really, in my vision, see like I'm passing this veil of light. It's like I'm reaching into this divine realm. and I literally feel like I'm bringing something from that realm to here, you know. So speaking of embodiment and clearing distortion. In fact, this very morning, I woke up like with the tsunami of worries about stuff. It's like I don't usually have that, but today it was all of a sudden I woke up almost like feeling panicky, and all these worries and everything were taking over my mind. And the first thing I thought, was, before I get out of this bed, I'm not starting this day in this energy. So I put on your meditation, the one you made for the Ironclad group, the 18-minute one about connection and health, and I can't remember the title exactly, and I listened to that before I got out of bed, and while I was listening, it was like everything became clear and fell into place. And I knew what I had to do. I knew which choices I need to make, which answers I needed to give, which yeses and which nos. And, there was a lot of space suddenly. Whereas before that, I was like, oh, the walls are closing in. So there's definitely a clearing of that distortive energy that takes place. And like I said, I'm sure you have many other expressions beyond the Yoga Nidra ones. If it's part of your purpose, then it is vibrating within you, in every conversation that you have, or anything that you do. So I do believe that that your path from the young age, like you said, is one of the clues as to what on earth are you doing here.
Yeah, and I think what I had a knowingness of at a young age, but I didn't have the languaging or the experience of it, was that our perception in every moment is, it's dictating the reality that we're accessing. And I just understood, it's almost like I came in with that understanding that in each moment there are infinite possibilities of an experience, and that it's like almost tuning into different radio channels. That you'll have a completely different experience of this moment. And I understood that, but then life guided me into the direct knowing that exists, and so that was a confirmation of a deeper truth that I already knew.
It's a very important thing you're saying, and it's like, it is indeed, our thoughts and perspective dictates, I think that you said, it dictates the reality that we are accessing. And it is like that. And knowing, like, I mean, how many reminders do we need? I think like a lifetime of reminders, even though I know this now, what you're saying, and I say it and I share it. It's like I often need those reminders of that there are infinite possibilities, and to remind myself that the way I'm feeling, my vibration at this moment, my perspective, my belief, everything is, like you said, dictating the reality that I'm accessing. I think that's such a brilliant way to put it. And to know that there are other realities to access if you choose,
Well, and so when I had those spontaneous shatterings of reality, or spontaneous awakenings, whichever way you want to look at, perception shifted instantaneously. And then what I'm focused on now is, so that was spontaneous, and how that happened, I don't really know. But now, with a more embodied approach, it's working through it more systematically, understanding it more systematically, that the perception that we're whatever perception is arising right now, there's a cluster, constellation of thoughts, sensations, emotions,
Mm-hmm.
images, belief system, and we can slowly work through these perceptions by following the trail all the way back down to where the psyche really crafted itself into this belief system,
Yes.
and then access what is more deeply true than that. And
Mm.
when we can do that, a sankalpa is there.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because, yes, before the sankalpa was almost, it's like you're accessing almost the mind of source
Mm-hmm.
and inspired, receiving that inspired thought.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely still truth, and it exists. And then, but where I'm being asked to focus on right now is that already inside of you
The
is a
sankalpa
sankalpa,
within. Yes.
already there, and it's underneath the distortion of perception.
Yeah. Makes
And if we
sense.
can follow through the whole trail down to
Mm.
access the deeper truth, it's already direct. When you touch that space inside of you, but you have to be embodied to do it. And when you touch that space inside of you, it's
Mm-hmm.
already known, it's already directly realized,
Yeah.
and then your whole body can recalibrate
Yeah.
to that deeper truth, and your
I think you
mind
gave
can.
an answer. You gave an answer right now because you said you have to be embodied to do that.
You have to be embodied to do that, and that's
So
what
now we know. What's now we know.
I guess, yeah, to receive, to
Yeah.
receive already
Yes.
what is there, you have to be embodied for it. Yeah.
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 And to go through those layers, the clusters, to get to what's beneath,
Yeah.
to get to the
And
inner sankalpa.
and in that journey, I call this now a sankalpa journey,
Yeah.
because in that journey you have to actually face what you've been avoiding and what
Mhm.
you've been rejecting, or what your psyche has even become an expert at thinking to keep you moving away from that place of pain.
Yeah.
You have to overcome and have like an entire directional shift away from the strategy of the mind that's become
Mhm.
an expert like in protecting you.
Yeah.
And you have to face all of that and feel it in an embodied way in
Yeah.
order to make the journey to touch the space
Mm.
inside of you
Yeah.
that is holding that potential of that
Yeah.
sankalpa.
Yeah. Yeah, my psyche is expert in when it gets triggered, in it jumps to defensiveness and explaining things, the inner struggle of position and worthiness and that kind of thing, that's but I'm aware of it though, and it is very wonderful to even allow that struggle for a bit, and then to go, like you said, down below. Okay, so what's beneath this, and what is really true, and what is more true than that, and what is more true than that, and then getting to the core of it, and then there's the power to release those distortions.
Exactly. And the distortions, they come into coherence or harmony because awareness, they're being witnessed and awareness is moving through them. But the energy has to be felt in the temple of the body. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That has to,
Yeah.
that's an ingredient that has to be there. And so I guess that's more of what I'm guiding now, instead of more of an impersonal yoga nidra practice that is essential. It's essential in terms of a foundation, but there's parts that it wasn't necessarily touching specifically for to work through the personal distortions that you don't necessarily touch because you're still protecting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to feel what we don't want to feel.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm called to now,
Yes.
because I know how much I avoided feeling what I needed to feel in it, and I didn't really understand how to do it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
my higher consciousness showed me and brought me through.
Yeah. How do you feel? And it sounds like maybe to some like a crazy question, but
It sounds like
it is,
crazy.
it's a thing. I know. Yeah.
Because like it's one thing to feel, you go to a yoga class and you're feeling your body move in these different postures, and that's a type of sensation and feeling. But when you're feeling the very structure of your self identity, that's an entirely different feeling, and we don't want to feel that because we're protecting it.
Yeah.
And that's what
Because we're identified with it, we're attached to it.
exactly, it's creating our entire sense of I-ness.
Yeah.
And so it's highly protected, but it's also highly wounded. And so to learn the skill to go in, actually to directionally shift from avoiding it and seeking even other healing modalities, because you think you're healing it, but you're actually avoiding it. It's a huge
Dancing
shift.
around it. Yeah.
And I only know this because I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then higher consciousness, when I was at a point of just extreme discomfort, and I surrendered completely. Higher consciousness, there was an opening for my higher consciousness to come in and like turn me around and say, this is the way. And I actually had to go in. It sounds but I had to go inward.
Yeah, the only way out is in. What?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing more now, is kind of saying to someone here, let's go in together.
Yeah.
And I'm right here with you. I'm a conscious being that is going to witness with you, and let's go in together and touch and feel what you haven't maybe been able to before.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that thought, to approach it in that way, of doing it together, instead of it being a struggle, or trying to take control, or whatever it is. It's like, let's do this together. It feels like a way more loving and compassionate approach.
It is like it's together. However, everyone has to feel their own stuff, and but if you have that support, it seems to be easier to do that. And the biggest thing though is just I'm just guiding the direction. I'm not guiding the realization. The realization can only be made by them, but I'm just guiding the direction.
Yeah, but even with you saying that, let's do it together, what I thought of in that moment was even saying that to myself. And with the self, I mean the part of me that is struggling or avoiding or protecting, or whatever it is. It's almost like my higher self part of me telling my, what should we call it, the ego, or the human aspect, or the part of me that is maybe having this human experience, like my source self even saying, let's do this together.
Absolutely. That support it's always there. And I see it as that's the higher consciousness that is a part of us, and that we're going into these sub-personality. There's multiple that are making up the sense of I-ness. And so we're going into to that end, even though it could be fearful, what's actually through it or there underneath it is what we've been searching for most of our life. And so it's so worthwhile to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much for everything you've shared. Just from your purity. I really enjoyed hearing everything that you had to share, and there's so many I don't know, like there's so much wisdom in there, and a lot to just allow to integrate, because there were many sentences that you said, and some of them I repeated because I was like, this is important, because I know, when people listen to interviews, sometimes like you don't hear certain things, and sometimes it's good, especially when something feels really relevant, to repeat it. So I know for sure that even by listening to this one a couple of times, there will be new things heard. I think it's very wonderful, even though it was a hard, or is maybe still, path, to come into this world with such an awakened consciousness. Yeah, that's challenging, but you obviously came here for a reason and a purpose, and came in with that level of consciousness and awakeness, let's call it, for a reason. And I'm really grateful that you are here doing what you're doing, even in the non-doing of your doing, when you are in this phase now, of going within. Even you doing that is still doing something. I can feel it. So thank you for being here on this earth with your energy and your frequency, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast and your YouTube. And just like I said before we started recording, you received this, as a download or an inspiration, and then taking it from that, from the subtle realm, and then actually bringing it through and manifesting it into this realm. That's an act of courage, and I just want to reflect that back to you and thank you for your contribution to our collective. And
Thank you.
It's deeply honored and respected.
Thank you very much. So sending you all my love, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds great. Thank you.